Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're trying out another new card. This is Pinnacle Emissary. So I think this card is potentially really good. So it is a 3 mana 3/3. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colourless drone artifact token with flying that can't block creatures without flying. So this also has warp, which means for just 1 blue or red mana, but most likely blue, we can put it into play from our hand and then we exile it at the beginning of the next end step, and then we can play it for its regular cost from the exile zone. So what we're going to do with this is try and do like an impression of what the side decks used to do when this 8-cast shell originally materialized. People used to play side, play a bunch of stuff, get a bunch of artifacts, etc, etc. So this being a thing that we play on turn 1 means that we can play this on turn 1 and then just spam out a bunch of zeros. And boy howdy do we have zeros. We've got baubles, opals, petals, another bauble. We even have a one of Tormod's Crypt, and we're playing this specifically because it is 0, so it makes our go turn, like on turn 1, a lot stronger. Now, if we don't have Pinnacle Emissary off of like a blue land, we might have a Patchwork Automaton off of an Ancient Tomb, and that can do the same thing we play out these zeros and just have a massive guy. We are going Stompy here. We're not trying to grind games out and do the whole Emery card advantage thing. We are trying to get our opponents in the ground. So the fact that we have this, which can hopefully give us lots more artifacts to make our affinity work, means that we should be able to try and play things like Kappa Canoneer as our big top end. This is just a really difficult creature that will kill your opponent in 1 or 2 swings. We've got ourselves Memory Guardian. This lines up very nicely into Dragon's Rage Channelers and Delvers and that sort of thing. And obviously we've got the Urza Saga package, so we can just start beating down, get a Shadowspear or a Spellbomb to clear a blocker and just keep going. And then we've got some Force of Will to sort of tie the room together. We have quite a lot of blue cards in this because we're running Kappa Canoneer. We've got Thoughtcast, Memory Guardian, even a couple of Stink into Stupor, which is like another way that we can interact on the board. So a lot of stuff you've seen before, but we're making some slight tweaks and sticking it all together in this sort of Stompy shell. So this is really going very heavy into Patchwork Stompy as a vibe. In the sideboard, what do we have? We've got some counter magic in Force of Negation, a little bit of Graveyard Hate in Faerie Macabre and Grafdigger's Cage, a generic Disruptor Flute, a Flusterstorm, a couple of Dismembers to kill some things, and then we also have 3 Gut Shots. Now, you might be looking at this thinking, why are you playing Gut Shot? Well, in our deck that has 4 Urza's Bauble, 4 Mishra's Bauble, 4 Thoughtcast, you can sometimes get in a bit of trouble to the old Orcish Bowmaster. So this is a concession to killing specifically Orcish Bowmaster. And this is also a thing that we can play which doesn't affect our tempo. So we can keep spamming all our stuff out using our mana, but then also take out something. Maybe this should be 3 Dismember and 2 Gut Shots, but we're going to try it this way and see how it fares, because I would like to see how good the Gut Shot is as a tool that a deck like ours can lean upon when we really don't want to get Bowmastered. I did want to try and fit Thought Monitor in here, but I couldn't quite squeeze it in. I think we're better off just doing Kappa Canoneer and smashing people to pieces. Alright, that's what we're playing today. Like, subscribe, and let's just get stomping. Okay, this is our opener. What do we do with it? We play 3 things out. Then we can warp in the Emissary. And then what? We play 1 thing. That doesn't seem great. I think we can do better than this. 1, 2, 3, 4. This probably gets us somewhere good, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Improvise is not the same as Affinity. What are we putting back here? Probably the Spellbomb here. Let's play this one out. Play out Petal. And another Petal. And a Mox. So this should cost 2. So you can draw 2 more cards here. Am I playing this one out? I'll play this one out. I think that's fine. So any artifact gives us Kappa Canoneer, but maybe we have to burn the Force of Will if our opponent's doing something super scary. But if they're doing something super scary, then we'll be glad for the Force of Will, because that means we'll still be alive. Alright, the Wasteland is pretty good here. Are we redrawing or not? I think we probably are here. Another Wasteland. Alright. Not ideal. Alright, found a basic though. That is pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can hardcast Force of Will, but it will cost us 3 Lotus Petals. Are we playing out the Petal? I don't think we are this time. I think we just hold it in case we draw patches or something. We probably should have held... Actually, no, we were right to play the Bauble last time and crack it. Cavern of Souls. Naming Goblin. Cool. A Skirk Prospector. That's not a lackey. I'll take that. Alright, an artifact or a land, please. Neither. So we're still one shy, but we do have this Force of Will that's not going to interact with our opponent. But the Kappa Canoneer should kill our opponent relatively quickly if we can get it into play. If we drew an Ancient Tomb, we could play it and then immediately put a counter on it. Or save the counter to make it unblockable the following turn. We're looking at here Matron, maybe. Bombardiers. It can't be countered, so this Force of Will is not really going to do very much. So this is what? 3 damage? That's not too bad. We should be able to race this with a Kappa Canoneer. Mox. Yeah, this works, doesn't it? After a fashion. Play this one out. Keep this one. Play this one out. So we can tap these for mana. That's what Improvise allows us to do. So we've got ourselves a Kappa Canoneer backed up by a Force of Will. They can still attack with a broadside. They can still fling stuff at our face. But we've got a big turtle warrior that hopefully we can start growing and doing other cool stuff with. It sees itself enter, so it does immediately put a counter on itself. They've got Ancient Tombs. They've got a decent chunk of mana here. They could put a Muxus on the stack if they wanted to. Sack both their goblins to do so. An Aether Vial. I honestly don't care about that one. I don't think these Force of Wills are going to find much purchase. Another broadside. Sure, this is going to fling the Aether Vial at us for 3 damage, I imagine. So we're going to take, what? 4, 5, 6, 7 this turn? And we probably die next turn. Don't have, like, anything worth playing and throwing. Yep. Alright, it's our turn. So bash in with 6. That's probably reasonable here. Not really in the market for more Mox Opals, to be honest with you. But I will bash. So if we have Thoughtcast into a run of other stuff, we're probably okay. At the moment, they're presenting 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. So if they play a 3-drop, we die. Actually, what am I talking about? They can just throw the Bombardier, can't they? So this is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So our opponents should be able to just win this one if they turn their guys sideways. Are they holding back because they think we have something, though? They were taking a little while to work this one out. My Kingdom for a Stifle. So they can just throw one of these Bombardiers at our face and we die. Which they should definitely do. It's possible we can kill our opponent next turn if they give us a turn. So they should probably just finish the game now. It's very unlikely that an 8-cast deck has anything that can interact with this sort of Bombardiers type stuff. And also just play out some other guy is fine. Sear Slicer Goblin. Okay. You're not going to kill us? Alright, they're putting us to 1. You're going to use the other one? They are, okay. Bit awkward for us. What do we want in a matchup like this? Gut Shots and Dismembers, probably. And I don't believe we want the Forces. Do we think they have Null Rod? We can probably beat Null Rod to some extent, though. We don't need this Tormod's Crypt, so we're just getting some removal spells. So the Gut Shots aren't always that useful, but they can take out like a Lackey on turn 1, which is useful. I would like to do the Pinnacle Emissary thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we're close. I'll keep this one. We've got a removal spell. We've got a Kappa Canoneer. We should be able to get this Kappa Canoneer down at some point. Don't believe our opponent's going to have any Chalice action, so I'm probably just going to hold these in case we draw something that changes our perspective. Like we could draw the Pinnacle guy on turn 2, then we can just spam out a bunch of stuff. Just a lowly island. Nothing to be afraid of here, opponent. If we draw the Pinnacle guy, we get to play Kappa Canoneer as well next turn. And also be nice to play the new card. Let's see if we can draw it. We did not draw it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I guess we're playing a turtle. Okay. We've got 5 power on turn 2. That's not too shabby. We've got a removal spell in hand and a bunch of redraws that we can fire off next turn. A Wooded Fields from our opponent. I don't think they're going to play a Null Rod. I think their artifact hate is going to be like Trash Master. They're cracking their Wooded Foothills. Rundveld Horde Master. Sure, that is a guy. Not a particularly exciting guy, in my opinion. Alright, let's bauble our opponent here. A Trash Master. Okay. That was an important card to see there. If we want to use this for black mana, we need to kind of do it now. Alright, I think we're going to send in with the Kappa. So we know they've got a Trash Master. How do we want to play around that is the question. Do we just hold this Dismember for it? I guess it depends what they put in off of this Aether Vial. If they put in a Skirk Prospector, then the answer to that is yes. Right, so we're going to get a card here. We can pop some extra Baubles in our opponent's turn here. Another Ancient Tomb, not really the one. But it does mean we can cast Kappa without needing any artifacts. Alright, so this is going to be the Trash Master. They're not going to be able to pay the ward cost on this one. Alright, Horde Master can get stuck in. Actually, we probably want to kill this Trash Master now in case they want to sacrifice the Horde Master. This will also prevent 1 damage from us. I think that makes more sense to do it that way. Like, we could take the 2 and see if we find anything else that comes down, like post-combat off of this Aether Vial. They're going to sacrifice this and probably detonate our Mox Opal, I imagine. That's what they're targeting. They get a little free card. It's a Badlands, so they don't get to cast that. So we're going to take 1 from the Horde Master, and then we'll redraw. Don't know if they have something weird that interacts with us here, but I'm just going to get some Baubles. A Seer Slicer Goblin they have over there. And what's on top of the library? A Pyroblast. Okay, that Pyroblast is pretty close to actually impacting our creature. So they are putting in the Seer Slicer Goblin. This will make them a 1/1. An artifact to make our creature unblockable would not be the worst. A Gut Shot as well, you say. And another Gut Shot. You spoil us. So let's go for Patches here. This will pump our Kappa Canoneer. Then we can attack. So this Pyroblast is going to cost them a decent amount of mana here. I will play out this Ancient Tomb. So it'll cost them 5 mana to kill this Kappa Canoneer. So they need to have a land in hand. Because Ward 4 is quite substantial. I think we will kill this Horde Master with a Gut Shot. We get a card off the top. Is it a Goblin? It's a Sting Scourger. Okay. We probably could have killed the Horde Master to put the Pyroblast in exile so they couldn't cast it. That might have been a bit of a tighter play that we had access to this turn. Yeah, I think I missed that one a little bit there. If we lose to this Pyroblast, then that's on me, I think. A Skirk Prospector. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. So we have to Gut Shot this Seer Slicer Goblin as well to make sure they don't have the mana to Pyroblast us. If they have a 3-drop in hand, that can do it. This is entirely a problem we could have avoided if we were a touch smarter with this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, they do still have 5 mana, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have to lose their entire board for it. They could just try and chump block and hope that we don't draw an artifact. They could always wait and see. Alright, they're attacking with the Goblin token. Okay, if we block, they'll have to sacrifice it right now to kill this. If it lets damage go through, they don't get to kill our Kappa Canoneer. Unless they have a 3-drop in hand. This game is entirely about our Kappa Canoneer. You got 3-drop in hand. Makes the moon. That is not a Goblin. Alright. Any artifact in our artifact deck off the top wins us the game. A Thoughtcast. We can cast this. They can Pyroblast it, but then they won't have the Pyroblast for our Kappa Canoneer. Come on, deck. What are they going to put under the bus here? It's probably the Magus, so they can have the mana for the Pyroblast next turn. Could have avoided this entire situation if we'd have gut-shotted with different timing. Now, there might be some other problems that we ended up facing instead. But they need a land here, or a Goblin that they can put in with the Vial. Right, so now they're just... Sorry, they didn't need the mana at all, did they? What am I talking about? They're just going to tap this Ancient Tomb and be fine. Did they draw a Goblin? They drew a Broadside Bombardiers. That's not that scary. A Gut Shot, you say? We're warping to get a 1/1. If we warp this in, we could play the Spellbomb and draw a card with it. The Spellbomb can stop the Broadside Bombardiers for a turn, but that's not really going to be good enough. So I think we're going to try and cycle the Spellbomb here and see if we can get another artifact, get some more guys going. Let's draw a card. Memory Guardian. 1 artifact, 2 artifact. How much does this cost us? 3 mana. Well, we have 3 mana, so I will pay this. This gets us another little doodah. So we have lethal damage now. We lose our warp guy. We can't block their guy, so they need to draw a 3-drop here to kill us. They can hit us for 5 this turn and shut off an Ancient Tomb. Okay, we can't block this. The drones can only block creatures with flying. Alright, we managed to win the game despite our little stumble with that Pirate Blast there. We could have taken it off the top and not have to worry about these problems. Okay, so now we're going back to the sideboard. Do we want to do anything differently here? No, I think the gut shots were actually pretty good, especially since they got Horde Master. I don't think I want the flute to name Broadside Bombardiers. I don't think that's what this is about. I think we just resubmit. Patches, some friends. Yeah. We'll give this a go. It's pretty stompy, which is very much what we're trying to do. We can produce more power than our opponent. That's not going to be a bad place to be. This is why we brought out the forces. We're just not going to be able to counter stuff half the time. It's a lackey. Well, we're going to have a creature that's big enough to block this. Ooh, does that change anything here? How much can we do? So if we play this out and then this out, then we play out patches. So that'll give us 1 token. We play out the Mox Opal, that gives us 2 tokens. Yeah, this seems pretty good. I think that is better than patches. If we go patches, then put the Pinnacle in. Is that better? No, I think the play here is we go warp it in with this little friend. Play the Ancient Tomb, play the patches. Yield to this trigger. Play this out. So the patches grows. We get another little friend. We have a boatload of stuff here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could just play... Yeah, we can play this guy now, right? This looks like a pretty good turn 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could just play this as well, which I'm going to do. Oh, wait, no, we don't have blue mana, do we? And we can't actually play this one out. We need the blue mana for this. All right, next turn. So our little warp friend goes away. We might be able to get them back later on. But we put, what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power into play on turn 1. That is like a pretty medium level Empty the Warrens in our deck that does a lot of other stuff too. That's pretty good. Aether Vial. That's probably not going to cut it here, is it? Patches. Okay, I'll take another patches. Let's pump our existing patches. Alright, this is what I envisioned when I built this Pinnacle Emissary deck. So we play this one out. 1, 2... blue. We play with these. I think the turtle can hold the fort pretty well against this lackey. So we'll send in these 2. We've still got 2 things to block lackey, and even if they put something in with lackey, it probably doesn't kill us anyway. Alright. We're looking to have lethal damage next turn, I think. Here, so we've got, what, 3 plus maybe 6 is 9, 10, 11, 12. So if we have an artifact, we have lethal damage that opponent can't really do anything about on a turn 3 goldfish. I don't think an Aether Vial on 1 is going to be anything to be scared about either. Alright, our opponent couldn't puzzle their way out, and we got the match. Alright. The very high highs of this deck seem pretty good. I'm a bit worried about the low lows, though. Let's go to round 2 and see how it feels. This is just a good old-fashioned Urza Saga hand. Alright, I'm willing to give that a go. Start cranking out the friends. Now, if they wasteland us, yeah, that could potentially be annoying, but we can sink into Stupor and get some Pinnacle Emissary stuff going at some point. A wasteland, okay. You got it. Patches would be a nice draw here. Not a patches. But we can do a bunch of stuff here, right? We can go Soporific Springs. I'll pay 3 life. We can warp this in. I think we are going to warp in the other emissary as well. Let's warp this one in as well. And then we can play the Kappa. That's not a bad turn, is it? Truth be told. So blue, and then we'll tap these guys because they're going away in a second anyway. Our opponent's saying nice in the chat and they're just scooping it up. Yeah, that looked pretty good. We're certainly getting the screenshots we want from this one. We have seen Wasteland and Wasteland. We don't really know anything about what our opponent's doing. I guess we just go back in with the aggressive stompy plan that we have to begin with. This is very much the lows of what this deck can do, though. It's just A mystery pile. I don't think I can keep the mystery pile. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we can probably keep this one. We can also just play like an Urza Saga game, so maybe we bin off the Spellbomb. If we need it, we can get off the Saga later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can make a turn 1 Memory Guardian. Alright, we're on Delver. Okay. Patches. Alright, let's go for this Patches and see if he resolves. Come on, friend. I believe in you. Oh, we're in. Okay, let's start growing our little friend. Who is the Delver now? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't have enough to cast this. It's going to cost us 2, and we can't quite get the second one. I'm going to leave the Bauble in play because I would quite like to keep the affinity and improvise going. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. And a Ponder. This Memory's Guardian will be able to check pretty much all the creatures they have apart from Murktide. If they've got some like Corey Steelcutter stuff going on, that can sort of go wide of us. We'll be able to clean up the monks mostly like 1 a turn if they're getting sent into our Memory Guardian. But they can just accrue a bunch and then go for a big turn at some point. But as it stands, we've got the most damage on the table because they didn't put in a 4th type with their Surveil. Okay. No attacks there for our opponent. A Patches. Who am I to say no to Patches? Ancient Tomb is a real cost to be tapping this. But we can get the Patches going. So this costs just the 1 blue now. Get this Memory Guardian on the go. The good draws of this deck feel really good. We do have Force of Will. Are we going to crack this Bauble looking for it? Yes, we are. They have a Murktide on top. That is not too big a deal. How weird. It's going to be 5/5 most likely. But looking for a Force of Will to deal with one of their spooky sideboard cards. Like if they could melt down for 2 here, that'd be pretty good and strip out both of our Patches. But that's the sort of level of card they need. They need a big haymaker to mess with us here. Otherwise, we're just going to keep cruising through with our enormous beaters. A Lightning Bolt. Targeting my face. That's not really where I want Lightning Bolts to be pointed. Don't really want much of the creatures either. There was a pause in their upkeep, so I suspect they were thinking about doing this before their upkeep. Before their draw step. Okay, so they milled over 2 cards here. They're just going for playing a big Murktide. It's a tried and tested plan. Okay, they've got a 7/7. We might be able to get bigger than that. What is the play here? Is it just get our Urza Sagas going? Most likely. So I think we play this Seat out. And then we're probably not attacking here. I don't really want to play this Kappa Canoneer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I guess we're just passing and going Saga, and then we can Shadowspear our way through. If they turn the Murktide sideways, then they're taking a lot of damage on the backswing. If they don't turn the Murktide sideways, how are they winning this game? So if we take 7 here, how bad is that for us? So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if we activate this Ancient Tomb twice, we will die to Lightning Bolt. I think we are chump blocking here. As sad as that is. We don't want to die to Double Bolt. Alright, let's make a friend. He's pretty large. Borrower here could be a real pain. So I guess it means we want to put the... How much does Shadowspear cost to equip? It's 2, isn't it? Let me just check. It is 2. Okay, so let's go... Make another friend. Consign to memory. Targeting just the construct making or the tutor? It's the tutor they're targeting here, right? Well, that's pretty bad news. I'll play out of the Saga. Play out this Bauble. So if we attack with these 2, they have to block them both. So we send in the clowns, and then we're dead to Lightning Bolt. But we do get a chance at drawing Force of Will here. 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess we can block the one thing they have here anyway. What they got in hand? Is it Lightning Bolt? A Corey Steelcutter. That's pretty good too. Okay, so now they just have lethal with these, don't they? Because we put a creature in the graveyard for them. Yep, and then they swing through and we die. Yeah, not quite the way through that one. Do you want gut shots? I don't mind paying 2 life to kill a Dragon's Rage Channeler. We know they've got Corey Steelcutter. We're not really doing anything about that. Force of Will is basically something we only really want for their Murktides. Let's just keep like a Miser's Force in and do something along these lines. Tormod's Crypt, actually. Let's have a Force over a Crypt. Alright. Flusterstorm is playable here, but we seem to be tapping out a lot. No, we can't keep this one. Pinnacle and then do nothing. We could just play a Patches and then die. I don't think that's good. I think this is the best one we've had so far. So, what we keep in here? Do we keep the other land? I think the Spellbomb goes. And is it the Bauble? Or is it the Pinnacle? Probably the Pinnacle here, I think. Well, I'll play this out with the intention of playing Patches into Mishra's Bauble and then can work on some constructs here. Wasteland just taking us back to the Stone Age is pretty good, but no. A Ponder, sure. Bauble from our opponent. That suggests to me they don't have a Corey Steelcutter in their hand, otherwise you would leave that in your hand for that. They've seen our Bauble. Alright, Patches, will you resolve? Who knows? If you do, it's pretty good for us. If you don't, that's just the way it goes. Alright, you did resolve. That's quite exciting. So we get a 3-3 before our opponent gets to do anything. Do we want to keep these in play, or do we want to have more draws looking for... I think we do actually want more draws here. Corey Steelcutter in the hand. What's on top of your library? I'm surprised that they played the Bauble when they did. Maybe they have more Baubles and they just want to get a bit further through, or maybe the crack in the ball was what drew them the Corey Steelcutter. Alright, so we've got another Bauble to keep this train rolling on the Patches. We can play an island and then we can start burning with our Urza Saga without having to use the other one and just get it used up without getting max value. So we can just continue doing... Okay, so we're going to get wasted off of our Saga, I think. No. They want to race. Okay. Our Bauble. So this gives them a 2-2 with haste. That can't attack into us. Okay. Unless they're running gut shots as well. But I don't think this is attacking. Alright, so drawing off their Bauble. Saga ticks up here. So I could play this Saga this turn and use this to activate this, knowing that we have the Ancient Tomb next turn. That seems pretty reasonable. But next turn we're probably spending our mana on turning this into a Shadowspear and equipping, right? Play out the Saga. We just have more options that way. Alright, we'll play the Saga. Let's get Bauble in. Let's attack with Patches. This is whenever we cast an artifact spell. So it won't trigger off of putting a creature into play off the Saga. But putting a creature in off the Saga does trigger the Kappa Canoneer. Alright, so we've got ourselves a big friend. So consign to memory can only hit the tutor part of this. Or the gaining an ability. So this has already gained its ability to make constructs. So they can't stop it. Now, obviously they can wasteland it and that's totally fine. They could wasteland this Saga. And then this Saga doesn't... We only get one guy off. Okay. They don't want us to get access to the Shadowspear. Do they have a meltdown here? They can melt down and clean up 3 of our permanents. They'd still be a little bit under the gun from this Patches, but I think they can probably best that. I don't think we want to crack this Bauble. Having a 4-4 when they've got a Lightning Bolt feels quite important. Our opponent does have lots of cards in hand, though. Alright, our opponent is scooping it up, and we get the match. So we're 2-0 somehow. We are stomping away. Not necessarily the cleanest of play for me, if I'm being perfectly honest. I really don't get on with playing these sorts of 8-cast style decks, but I thought if we're playing a stompy build, we get there. But, you know, we're putting the wins on the board. Our deck is carrying us through at times. Alright, on to round 3. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3for1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3for1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. Okay, this is our round 3 opener. What does this do? This plays it as a Saga game, which I think is reasonable. So I'm going to give this a go. So we go Saga, Shadowspear, and then we can follow up with Ancient Tomb and start cranking out the friends. Alright, is this going to be like Red Stompy? It certainly looks that way. They're going to put this Seven Spirit Guide underneath this Crypt Mox. A Blood Moon. Okay, I think we allow this. So this is an artifact, and we will be able to get where we need to go at some point. So we'll hold this for patches. We can draw that. Fable and Mirrorbreaker. This just is a lot of value. I think we get rid of... We already have 2 more land drops, so I'm just going to get rid of this land drop that we're never casting as a spell. Like a single island or Mox Opal, and then we're online anyway. A Bauble. Okay. I will play out this Saga and pass. So we could have counterspelled the Blood Moon and played on with this like plan that we have. But if we just get rid of our opponent's like actual win conditions, that usually ends up better, I find. Okay, I think we're now in the stages of cashing in baubles. Right, Ancient Tomb, they probably don't care about that too much. A Pyroglyph in hand. Okay, so the Ancient Tomb is going to allow them to play the Pyroglyph. What is it going to be? Artifact, enchantment, instant. It's pretty good. Right, this Pinnacle Emissary, not really going to cut it right now. So I assume we're going to see the Pyroglyph. Yeah, it's a 3-4. We can certainly outpace this with the creatures in our hand if we can draw them, the land to play them. Alright, so we drew the island. Never in doubt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 2 artifacts. So this will cost 3 to cast. And then we might not get to cast another spell. This also costs 3 to cast. Do we go for... I think we've got time to try a Thoughtcast out. If we can find something to allow us to double spell, then we're going to be in good shape. Okay, Patches. Patches is good. That's a spell that we can cast, so we will be able to double spell next turn. And this Memory Guardian is going to become cheaper. We could also just play the Kappa next turn. We could play Pinnacle into Patches, or we could play Patches into Pinnacle. But we do need to be aware of our life total. Like another Pyroglyph can be pretty scary for us. Alright, that is pretty scary for us. This is 8 we take here, because they see each other. So this is going to put us to a pretty low life total. So either of these is going to be lethal next turn. Maybe we didn't have the time to do the Thoughtcast. Alright, what have we got here? A Tormod's Crypt. These little tokens don't actually help us make blockers. So what is the plan here? We need 2 blockers. So I think that probably begins with Patches. Pinnacle doesn't make blockers. So you can play out this Tormod's Crypt. You can play the Seat of the Synod. So this should cost 1 mana if I can do my maths. It is just 1 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we can't do that just yet. Alright, Memory Guardian, here you go. So this gives us a 3-4. We can equip the Shadowspear. Who are we equipping it to? I guess it's the Patchwork because it's just harder for our opponent to actually remove it. If they've got another Pyroglyph, we're incredibly dead. But we can double block a Pyroglyph, take 4, gain 4. And then we can maybe crack in, get a Kappa Canoneer going. We've got some options here. Broadside Bombardiers kills us, Pyroglyph kills us. I think if we countered that Blood Moon earlier, we might have been able to deploy some stuff a little bit earlier, but our opponent would have had access to Fable the Mirrorbreaker into Pyroglyphs, and that would most assuredly kill us, because we're not great at interacting on the board. So I think it is right to have saved our Force of Will for like an actual threat. There's even an argument that maybe the Fable the Mirrorbreaker wasn't big enough threat and we should have saved it for something like a Pyroglyph. Chalice for 0. That makes sense. Please don't have any more power that you can put to the board here. Do they attack in here or not? Alright, a Fury. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that's going to kill our Memory Guardian. So now our Patchwork has to chump block for us to survive. That is less good. Oh, they didn't attack. That is interesting. I would have attacked fine with them. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have enough. We don't have 2 blue sources, so we can't play the Pinnacle first. So I guess we just play this one out. And cast this, so we can tap the artifact. I don't think we're going to need to exile their graveyard here. Right, so this gives us a 5/5. What would I rather trade with here? If we put the Shadowspear onto the Kappa, it becomes a 6 power guy. So this can block here, this can chump block here. I think that makes the most amount of sense. Let's equip it to this guy. And then the Pinnacle might be able to give us enough power to get over the finish line here, because that can pop off in a pretty big way. If we had more blue mana, it'd be good. But if, let's say, we draw a Thoughtcast that draws us 2 cards into Mox Opal, and that we can start sort of running from there. Actually, no, the Mox Opal doesn't work under the Chalice, does it? So it's going to be a little bit harder to get that extra blue mana going. You could Thoughtcast into Island plus some artifact. So the Patchwork trades with the Fury. The Kappa Canoneer eats a Pyrogoyf. Our opponent will deal us 1 damage in that exchange, but lose 2 of their things. And we lose 1 thing. So now attacking is bad. If they attacked last turn and forced the chump block with the Patchwiz, they would have been in a better position, I think. Alright, they're coming in, are they? Block here, we block here. First strike goes through onto the Patches. It lives, and then regular damage happens. And then I end up in a much better position now. What is our opponent's follow-up? A Fury. This can't ping our Kappa Canoneer because our Kappa Canoneer has Ward 4. Alright. That's just going to get countered by the Ward. Okay. Pinnacle Emissary. Not ideal, to be honest. So, if we attack here, we gain 6, we go up to 11. Our opponent cracks back with exactly 11 damage. So that doesn't work. We play the Pinnacle Emissary. We can crack him for 12. And then our opponent puts us to 1 on the next attack. Interesting. Actually, no, we can hardcast the Pinnacle Emissary, can't we? I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, okay, let's do this. Because our opponent is fixing our mana for us. We could play the Pinnacle Emissary and then warp this other one. That seems pretty reasonable, doesn't it? Because we can play red for this. So now if we warp this one, we get a drone. Kappa Canoneer grows. Kappa Canoneer grows again. So this is 9 we're swinging for here. Alright, I think we've pivoted onto the aggressive stance here. Our opponent's got no cards in hand. This is an unblockable 9/9 lifelinker. And now we can move this Shadowspear onto... Which one isn't warped? That one is warped. So we want to put it on this one. Because we might have to chump block here. Well, it's not even a chump block. We can trade with the Fury. And that's pretty reasonable. Next turn we can cast this guy from exile. And if we have any artifact that we can cast, then we get to have lethal on this one. Because this will be +1. And then we cast another thing, +2. And then we get the token +3. So we do have lethal. Oh, we don't even need that necessarily because the Shadowspear is +1 as well. So I think we might have turned this one around. We died to Broadside Bombardiers, I'm sure. How much damage is this going to deal us? This is 10. This puts us to 4. So we're not dead on board. But if they kill this guy, and they demo us for 5, then we are dead, right? We lose our... Oh, they're just killing our 2 creatures. That doesn't kill us. If they killed the one creature that could block, then they could hit in for lethal here. Alright, I think our opponent's made a little error there. But they might not have realised that the tokens don't block. Alright, artifact off the top, and we are golden. Not an artifact off the top. Okay. So, what is the plan now? We can gain... So, we played this guy out. I think that's a given at this point. So, this pumps this guy. This is 9. We equip this, and it's 10. So we swing in for 10 here. Our opponent goes to 1. We go up to 13. Our opponent cracks back. If we block here, we take 10. But we could just wait, and then any artifact gives us lethal the following turn anyway. And this way we've just got an extra blocker here. So I think we're just going to hold. Okay. Because any artifact will give us a 1-turn kill anyway. This way we get to keep an extra blocker in case they like remove our Pinnacle Emissary and get things a little bit sketchy. I don't see them removing our Kappa Canoneer here. Maybe post-board with like Pyroblast, they could do that with this amount of mana, but right now it's not going to happen. You're going to attack into my 10-10? They are not. So any artifact to win the game. We missed on it last turn. Let's see if we can hit this time. Our deck is pretty artifact dense. And it is just an artifact spell we have to cast to get the Pinnacle Emissary trigger. If they kill our Pinnacle Emissary, then all of our 0-drops don't work. Alright, it was just a chalice for 1. That's fine. It's an artifact, so we cast this. This gives us a Pinnacle Emissary trigger. This gives us a 1-1. This gives us an unblockable 11-11. And then we get to sail through for lethal. Alright, I think our opponent made 2 mistakes in that game that cost them. When they didn't attack to force the chump block, that seemed really weird to me. Well, I guess it wasn't a chump block, it would have been a trade in with the Fury. But they get to clear off some of our board. Actually, did they have the Fury then? I can't remember now. Anyway, and that last turn they could have Furied away just the Pinnacle Emissary and just swung, and that would have been good as well. Sorry, not Pinnacle, Furied away, just Pyrogoyf this away, Dome Us for 5, and then attack with these 2. Alright, to the sideboard. What do I like here? I guess we like Dismembers. We don't require Tormod's Crypt here. Dismembering their stuff seems useful. Do I want to have... We don't actually have a way of removing artifacts in play, so maybe we actually need some Force of Negations here. So maybe... Yeah, this gets a little tricky, doesn't it? We can probably trim on Baubles a little bit, but I don't particularly want to do that. I don't think Spellbomb's actually very good against our opponents. Sometimes we can bounce something, but most of their stuff have like ETBs or haste anyway. So if we get rid of that, we're currently at... what? This configuration. So we want to try and squeeze 3 more cards in. The Shadowspear looks great here. Maybe we trim 1 Mox Opal. And that gets us the last Force of Negation, so we're not going to get caught under a chalice for 0 as easily. And then we want to have Dismembers in, but how do we get them in? Are we trimming a Pinnacle? I think a turn 1 Pinnacle going wide is pretty strong. Maybe we just cut like a Thoughtcast. Maybe I don't know if I want to cut a Kappa. It just seems very good here. Maybe I'll trim a 1 Pinnacle. We'll try like this. Our opponent's probably going to have Red Blasts. I don't believe this one is a keeper. Let's mulligan. 1, 2, 3. We play patches, but then what are we doing from that point? I think it's good enough. Okay, so 1 artifact, 2 artifact, 3 artifact, Thoughtcast. Maybe that digs us out of the hole. Okay, we get rid of 1 tomb. I don't think we can afford the Force of Negation here. Chalice for 0 on turn 1 is going to be very strong here. But you never know, they might not have it. Uh-oh, they have it. But if we get rid of our Thoughtcast to play our Force of Negation, that's not going to be great for us either. Okay, Chalice for 0, Chalice for 1. But they don't have any pressure at this moment in time. So, what are we doing here? I think we play the Ancient Tomb because they might have Artifact Destruction. We don't want them blowing up our seat of the Synod. Thoughtcast looking a little bit tricky to cast right now. As a Saga, very good. Wouldn't mind one of those myself. So they can play the Blood Moon and have this as a Saga just permanently making guys next turn. And that becomes probably the end of the game for us. You can certainly argue that the Chalices on turn 1 were also the end of the game for us. Alright, deck. We're going to need something good here. Help me out. Another Ancient Tomb. I guess for the same reasons we'll play this one out. This does mean that next turn we can play the Thoughtcast. But our opponent now has a threat in play. Shadow Skull. I assume this is the Blood Moon coming down now. No, they're just making constructs. Right, they're not going to have permanent constructs. Just constantly ticking away. I can make 3 guys. How much does this cost? This gets a lot cheaper next turn if we make 3 guys. But that's quite susceptible to Fury. So this currently costs 4. So we would have to crack the... Alright, I think we're going to warp this. So this is still a 3 mana spell. We're just paying it for a different cost. So this does work through the Chalice. Unless I've entirely misunderstood how this mechanic works. But this is the same as like Evoke. Right, so now we can play out some stuff. Sure, we'll yield to these. Yield to this. Play this out. Play this out. So some of the creatures with warp do have haste as well. This one doesn't, it's just we're getting the effects of it and then it's going to go away. But we have a bunch of artifacts that's going to turn on things like Kappa Canoneer. It's going to turn on this Thoughtcast and we can hopefully get out from underneath this position we find ourselves in. They're making themselves a 3-3. It's going to attack as, what, 5-5 next turn. If they've got boots of going fast, we could be taking a lot of damage next turn. These tokens can't block. They've got another construct. Are we going to see some Lavasphere boots here? They would be pretty darn good. Okay, Chrome Mox. They want mana. I don't know if they even have Lavasphere boots in their list. Siege of Traitors. Okay, so this is 4 mana. This could be a Pyrogoyf. Or the One Ring. Oh, or Fiery Confluence. Alright, you got me. I don't want to play this one anymore. Okay. I think I want the Pinnacle Emissary. Maybe the more expensive stuff is the stuff that has to, like, trim. So we trim, like, a Kappa Canoneer. Although, would I rather have a Kappa Cannoneer or a Memory Guardian? They're kind of similar. Let's take out a Memory Guardian. Let's try this. Maybe we want more zeros, so maybe we do want this Mox Opal. But then what would we lose? Like, another Memory Guardian? Maybe? Alright, we've got a lot of air in our deck. It's kind of scary, but that's just the nature of 8-cast, isn't it? Maybe we're supposed to go down on zeros, though. What does this do? Turn 1, we cast this, play out this, and this, and this. Next turn we have Kappa. Yeah, that's probably okay, isn't it? And then we can sit on this Force of Will. Okay, so play this one out. Pinnacle this guy in. Well, let's do it with red mana. Let's mix it up a little bit. Mishra's Bauble. Trigger this. Mox Opal. Trigger this. Shadowspear. Wait, can we even cast Kappa Canoneer this turn? We can, can't we? No, we can't. We need the blue mana is the problem. We didn't quite have enough. But next turn we have the Kappa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think we are probably just going to draw a card with this one. Chalice of the Void. You got it. I don't think we counter the Chalice of the Void. I think we just play a Kappa Canoneer. And that probably goes pretty well for us. Oh, wow. That is an excellent draw. I'm very glad I cracked that Bauble now. Alright, I think we are odds on to get there. We need one more permanent. So actually, cracking the Bauble took us away from a permanent that would have helped us cast Kappa Canoneer. So maybe that is a little bit awkward, actually. But I don't really want to discard our Kappa Canoneer to make that happen. Again, I don't think we hit this. We've already played out all of our zeros. There's some scarier things that I'm more worried about. Okay, so we missed on the thing we wanted to do. Let's attack him with some guys. We've got a removal spell that we can use. We've got a clock that's not terrible. It's like a Delver of clock. And if we find a land, we can start gaining some life on our attacks. We've got this Dismember that we can fire off. But we're saving Force of Will for scary things like the red spell that blows up all of our things. The One Ring. No, thank you. I don't think we're beating this, are we? Get out of here, One Ring. Okay. This is the turn we need to find the land. We did not find the land. Okay, we are in trouble. We can't warp this in again to do anything either. You can only warp things from hand unless it has an ability like that one card that you can warp from the graveyard. Right. They do have these Ancient Tombs, which are pressuring their life total alongside what we're doing. But a single Fury cleans out our board, which obviously is going to happen now I said it. Volcanic Fissure, are you going to pay 3 life as well? No. Okay. We're going to continue to not draw the things we want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can play this Memory Guardian. And we bash for 3. Sometimes feels like we're only just getting there with this deck. But, you know, we're on a trajectory that can win us this game. I will take that. If you tap those 2 Ancient Tombs, the Memory Guardian is lethal. Alright, we've got a mountain over there. That is a land that doesn't hurt them, which is a pity for us. Alright, they're just scooping it up, and we continue to win all of our matches 2-1. We are 3 rounds in. Let's go to round 4. Alright, what does our hand do here? Turn 1, we play this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We make a Memory Guardian, then draw some cards. We make a Memory Guardian and a Shadowspear and draw some cards. I like playing my entire hand on turn 1. Is our opponent an Oops player? I don't know, I've got this feeling they might be now. Okay, so we'll go for some baubles here. Accidentally did a frowny face instead of a smiley face in the chat. Alright, let's get the Guardian out. Get the Shadowspear out. Let's draw some cards. How squad heavy? Okay, so our opponent is on the... I don't know, are they on just a mono-red Stompy deck? Are they on a Goblin Stompy deck? I guess we'll find out. Alright, we don't have the blue card to go with this Force yet. Maybe I remember our opponent's name because they play with really nice mountains. These are lovely, aren't they? Okay. A Thoughtcast. So we could fire off this Thoughtcast. Why would I not draw that many cards? Let's draw some cards. Alright, we drew some good cards there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'd have to tap our Memory Guardian to play the Kappa Canoneer. Okay, our opponent's just saying they were on Oops last time. I did remember correctly. Okay, I'm just going to go for this little friend here. I say little friend, he's enormous. Okay, so we've got a Force of Will protecting our pretty... Okay, we don't have a Force of Will protecting our board anymore, but that's okay. A Chrome Mox. Yeah, I think we slow our opponent down. We don't know what this Force of Will is doing. We have plenty of damage. We just want to get over the finish line with what we've got going on here. Alright, they scooped it up. That was obviously a very good Force of Will. Whew. Alright, our opponent's playing goblins of some amount of stompy variety. I would like some dismembers. I would like these gut shots for things like lackeys. Do I want Cage to stop Goblin Lackey? Not particularly. We don't need the Tormod's Crypt. The Aether Spellbomb is fine. Not incredible, but fine. The Force of Wills are kind of sketchy here. And then we take these out. And we've got this selection of things. And we're just going to stomp. We are not an 8-cast deck that wants to be grinding all the value all the time. We are very much trying to stomp as hard as we can. Our solution to a lot of problems is kill our opponent. Okay. This makes 2 additional 1/1s on... I guess we get a draw step as well. Maybe we change what we're doing. Alright, I'll keep this. Wouldn't mind drawing a Mox Opal off the top. That would be probably the best draw we have. Because then we just get to go... Warp our guy in. 3 zeros. Play the Memory Guardian. Or Dismember if that's the thing we need to do at that point. But we'll see. A Chalice X equals 0. Yep, that's pretty good. I guess our opponent is on the more stompier side of goblins. A Thoughtcast. Is this just get 2 1/1s and then do some more stuff next turn? Is that where I want to be going here? I'm not sure it is. I think I'm going to play out this Ancient Tomb and hold for a turn and see if we can draw Patches. The reason we're not playing out the other one is if our opponent is on something that's going to mess with our mana. I would rather they mess with the Ancient Tomb than our only blue source. House Squad Heavy. I should have killed this in response to going to this stage. This is awkward. There's also a lot of damage. Yeah, we're going to take 1 more damage than we should have, and they're going to be left over with a Goblin because I passed through. That's just the thing that would happen. It would not happen in paper, but happens in Magic Online sometimes. Especially when you're talking. Okay. So this is going to cost us a lot. But we probably have to do it. Ugh. Make some guys. It's not great. But we needed to get some guys in play. These are kind of like mana and threats at the same time. But we know we're going to lose this one because we won the first one and all our rounds are 2-1. So we have to lose this one. It's just the way it works. Right, so this 2-2 they have now that they shouldn't have because we made a mistake is going to get a free shot at us, and that takes us off of 1 Ancient Tomb activation. Gives them speed, but I don't think speed's that relevant. Okay, what we got here? A Kappa Cannoneer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite where I need to be. So how much does this cost? 3 mana. So we could just Thoughtcast and try and get some more material, or we could play the Memory Guardian. I think we probably need to play it safe and play the Memory Guardian. And next turn we can think about Kappa. So we can attack with our little 1/1s because they can't block. And we have a pretty impressive creature on blocks. A 3/4 is nothing to be sniffed at here. A Rundeveld Horde Master, sure. So they got a 3/3. That doesn't go very well into our Memory Guardian. Are they still attacking with it? No. Okay, so we've kind of got some stability here. A Dismember. That's an expensive one to cast, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I just want to put a Kappa Canoneer into play? Or do I want to draw some cards? We don't get to do much with this Thoughtcast anymore. If we put the Kappa Canoneer in now, then the Thoughtcast becomes cheaper next turn. Right, let's get this Big Daddy Turtle in. Not going to be an easy thing for our opponent to remove, but they can certainly bash around us quite effectively here. So if they attack us, we have to block the Goblin token here. We're dead to like any haster. Our opponent's got many draws that win them the game here. Right, send them all in. We have to block this token, otherwise we die. It's going to shut off our Ancient Tomb. It's going to give them a little bit more speed. Avoid Mirror. Wow. Our opponent is not messing around. Ancient Tomb, my best friend. Okay, let's Thoughtcast. Not quite where we need to be. Okay, so I think we're just back to attacking with these two guys and holding back our guys. We are dead to haste guys, but we were dead last turn to a haste guy and they didn't have one, so it's tough out there, isn't it? We can play another Memory Guardian next turn and just keep deploying bodies. I don't think they attack here. Okay. Seat of the Synod. This is a very good draw for us. I would very much like to put this into play. We get to pump our Cannoneer. I would like to draw some cards. A Shadowspear. That is a pretty good card here, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to play this Shadowspear. This gives us one turn to fade a draw from our opponent. Otherwise, we just gain a huge boatload of life. This is going to name the Shadowspear. They don't want us equipping that and gaining life. Sure. Okay. So how many artifacts are we playing next turn? 1, 2, 3 artifacts? 4 artifacts? No, we can't get this out. We don't have red mana. 3 artifacts. And one of them... So 4 artifacts come into place. This is going to be 11. So we have lethal if they don't kill us this turn. So this is the turn they play Broadside Bombardiers and kill us. Sundering Eruption. Creatures without flying can't block. That is actually going to kill us. Yeah, that's pretty good. In come the guys. Yep. Pretty close one. We had our opponent dead next turn. Okay. I am aware that things didn't necessarily look ideal for us when they just jammed a Chalice. But we did put a decent amount of pressure into play. I think we are just going to go for... We're on the play. We can slam really fast. And if our opponent's playing like a slightly slower reactive hand, we get them. And if they're not playing a reactive hand, then we're on the play and we're probably going to be more explosive anyway. So we're just going to have to suck it up if a Chalice comes down. We still get cast triggers. All right, let's have an absolute banging hand. Yeah, I'll keep this one. We get to make 3 guys on turn 1. So a Delver's worth of power plus we get 2 redraws. That feels pretty good. Like, normal weight cast decks where you have the baubles, they don't give you additional value. You know, you use them as like pieces to get your like affinity and stuff, but we are generating additional bodies from them, and that feels real good. Let's take a little peek over there. Ancient Tomb and a Battlecry Goblin. Not a bad start. We also have the ability to play this Pinnacle Emissary later because we have the Lotus Petal. Right, Cavern of Souls. You got it. I'm hoping we're not going to find like meltdowny type stuff in our future. Alright, Seat of the Synod. Let's play out this Urza Saga. Crack him for 3. Do I just want to play this guy out? So only red mana, but I think that's okay, isn't it? Just keep the pressure going. Ancient Tomb, that's going to pressure their life total. What are we going to see here? Bombardiers, House Squad Heavy. Sure. So we can gobble this up with our 3-3, and we can just start cranking out Saga constructs. So if we play this out, we can warp this guy, then play out the Mox Opal. So if we warp this, and play out the Opal, get 2 triggers, go to attacks, attack with the squad, and then we also have this giant construct coming. Yeah, our opponent is lamenting their existence because they are getting bodied pretty hard by this nonsense. So this is what I mean about the deck not needing to worry about the chalices. If we're on the play, we can kind of just slam, and then we already have just like a really strong start. Alright, they're having to take life off of their Ancient Tomb. That guy. Sure. So they can fling some stuff around, but it's not going to go amazingly for them. I don't even know how big our construct is going to be, but we'll find out. The Mox Opal is also going to allow us to cast this other Pinnacle guy. Oh, it's a 10-10, is it? Sure, I'll block this guy. They're going to throw it at our face, but we have 1 million damage coming back. Alright, we got the GGs in chat. Okay. So, yeah. We are just going through the motions, having a little chat in. Alright. Okay. Our deck is doing the thing that we want it to do, right? It's smashing face. We're stomping people around. And we are 4-0. We have one more round to go. Are we going to get a trophy with it? Let's find out. Alright, trophy match time. What does our hand do? It's an Urza Saga hand that collapses to Wasteland. I'm going to mulligan this. Am I? Second land is also our blue card. I'm going to mulligan. We've seen some of the more explosive stuff our deck can do. Oh look, it's the same hand again. 1, 2, 3. So we've got a turn 2 Thoughtcast here if we want it. Well, we have to put something back actually, don't we? It's about one of the baubles. Alright, this hand isn't much better than the first one, but it's on 6, so are we going to dig ourselves out with a Thoughtcast or not? Green Sun's there, so we're probably looking at Nadu, I would imagine. That's the most common blue Green Sun Zenith deck, but there are other decks out there. Another Force of Will, actually pretty handy for us. I'm going to play out this island. I don't want our opponent to know that we're doing Urza's Bauble stuff, because we don't want them like randomly tutoring for a Collector Roof, which they might do if they see the baubles. I don't think there's going to be a lot of counter magic in our opponent's deck, if any. Brainstorm, you got it. Nomads and Core. So we could counterspell this, because we don't know if we're going to be able to counterspell the Nadu. We're being given the option of counterspelling part of our opponent's combo. Should we take it? I think the answer is yes. I don't feel amazing about it though. Because if they've got a Cavern of Souls. Okay, they have a Force of Will anyway. Pitching an Uro. Okay. Things are bad. You're going to get in for one with that Dried Arbor? Yeah, I love the little Dried Arbor beats. Alright, Jack. Bouncing out this Nomad doesn't really work either. Playing out this Spellbomb is effectively free. Okay, so we can hold this Spellbomb and bounce this. We don't quite have enough artifacts to play this. It's an Ardu. So we bounce this, nothing happens. We let our opponent go through the motions, and then we can bounce this at end step, and then maybe it forces them to not have access to like 6 more cards on our turn. I think we've just lost this one though. Gonna need my gut shots in for this one. Although gut shotting and Nomads and Core not always a thing you can do because they can redirect the damage. Alright, if they play another Nomads, then we'll scoop. If they don't, they give us a window where we can bounce it out and maybe have a turn to find a counterspell for this Nadu on the way back down because they haven't revealed a counterspell here. Sylvan Safekeeper. Alright, that'll do. Okay. So, I would like some gut shots. I would like some dismembers. I don't think we want a Tormod's Crypt. I don't think we want an Aether Spellbomb. I don't even think we want the Shadowspear here. 2 more cuts. Is it Kappa? The Kappa's been quite impressive. Maybe it's just a couple of Thoughtcasts. What's our blue count looking like? 10 plus 6 plus 3 is 19. That is a bit low. That is a bit low. Can we pump that up at all? I don't think we can afford to lose our 0 drops. They seem really crucial to what we're doing. Alright, we're just going to have 19 forces. Technically, like people say that 18 I think is the lowest you should have, but I always like 20. What do we do here? Alright, we can warp the boy in, make 2 tokens, and then we can Thoughtcast on turn 2. Let's get him in. Alright, our opponent has Force of Will, our spell. I think that's a pretty good shout. that card does an awful lot of work, and it's kind of like part of our engine almost, because it allows us to snowball out with a lot of resources that then turn into affinity or improvise. Saga, I'll play this one out. Bauble, Petal. So this should cost 3. Alright, we're losing our Lotus Petal. So we're just trading 2 cards, Petal and Thingy, for these 2 cards. Now these are pretty good cards. I think we will fire off this Bauble now. A Tundra, okay. Are we just going to get Nadu? Like, our opponent's deck is very, very good at putting Nadu into play. We're going to see a fetch land, I think. Nope, just a Tundra. Okay, so probably didn't have a fetch otherwise. Or they're saving a fetch for when they play Nadu, and they're trying to use Scythecat Cub as their thing to start their engine rolling instead of having access to nomads or anything. Ooh, it's going to be tough from here, though. I think we've got some options. We can just start cranking tokens with the Saga. They're going to be small. Okay. Kappa Canoneer. Does that change anything here? I don't think so. I think we're still doing Saga stuff. The first Saga is just going to be a 1-1. That kind of sucks. But if our opponent's on a beatdown plan, we can suddenly like crank it up a gear by playing a big turtle that is going to be the biggest thing on the board at all times. Another Cub. Okay, maybe not going to be the biggest thing on the board at all times. And this is the fetch land that they obviously saved on turn 1 because they were going to get double duty off of it on turn 2 or 3 or whatever it is. Okay, that is going to be a pretty big guy. So they're going to turn this to 12. This is going to be 14 damage, I think, this turn. So they double the counters and then double them again. So this goes to 6 and then it goes to 12. And now, did we board out that Aether Spellbomb? We certainly did, right? No, we didn't. No, we did. We did build it out. Okay. Cool. That could have saved us in this spot. Yikes. That's a lot of damages. I don't think we get to win here. Let's make this construct. Another construct isn't helping us here. Get a Mox. I just don't think we have a way of through this massive guy. I think we're just done here. Yeah, not having the Aether Spellbomb definitely cost us that game. But we finished with a pretty comfortable 4-1, which isn't bad for a first build, especially when it's in an archetype that honestly, I suck at playing 8-cast. I don't really like 8-cast in general. I just don't get on with it, personally playing it. So I think we can be pretty happy with how we've done today. So let's have a quick look at the deck and have some little thoughts about it. So at first I thought we were just sort of scraping by, but as the league went on, it did feel like we had struck gold here. And obviously I knew Pinnacle Emissary was going to be very good, and it was. It was fantastic. The fact that it allowed us to power out things like Cannoneer was really good. Now, some of the hands where we didn't go like Pinnacle and a bunch of zeros felt a bit awkward. And if we didn't have Patches or Pinnacle, then we were in trouble. But we have 8 of these cards, so it's not out of the question that we have one of them. But also, you know, Thoughtseize on turn 1 can disrupt us. So there's a bunch of things that can get in the way. But in general, I think the sort of Stompy Pinnacle plan here felt really solid. Something I would like to try with the Pinnacle Emissary, though, is some kind of like blue Saga Storm. So you play Pinnacle Emissary, then you play out all your zeros, then you do your Wheel of Fortune with, what's it called? Echo of the Arms Lion's Eye Diamond. There we go, we got there in the end. So then you refresh your hand, then you go again, and you keep doing that, and then you build up like a lethal board. So this is just like a 1-mana empty the Warrens that you have to play first. And then, you know, you can still do your other Storm stuff, and maybe you tendrils your opponent out or whatever. But that is something I would like to try. I guess that deck could just be like blue-red Saga Storm. It doesn't have to be just straight up blue. That's obviously not going to be a Force of Will deck. It's going to be a lot more combo-centric. But I'm definitely going to try and put that together and give it a whirl. I think in that last round I focused a little bit too much on the Nadu and not the beatdown plan that they could have had, so I should have just kept in this E-Spell one, and that was bad. But you know, it happens sometimes. As for the sideboard for our deck, I think that's where there was a lot of dead weight, if I'm being honest. So I don't think our deck reliably casts Harbinger of the Seas, and I don't think it's a thing we necessarily want. We're trying to stomp people. This can make it so our opponent doesn't get to play spells for a few turns, which might be enough for us to get over the finish line. But it just didn't feel like it was the sort of thing we actually wanted anymore. And similar to the Flusterstorm, we're tapping out a bunch here. So I don't think we're holding up interaction that often. So I think Harbinger of the Seas and the Flusterstorm should go. and you can replace them with probably something that deals with artifacts. So maybe Hurkyl's Recall, something along those lines might be worth exploring. But yeah, I think this deck is pretty good. I think it needs some work still, but this core engine of like using the Pinnacle Emissary to power out all your like beatdowny stuff felt pretty good to me. Sure, we could have played like an Emery deck, but that exposed us to graveyard hate in a format that is defined by 2 or so graveyard decks. You know, Oops has kind of dropped off a little bit, but Blue-Black Reanimator is still everywhere, and everyone's packing a bunch of graveyard hate. So I think moving away from like the Emery stuff and into the Stompy thing feels pretty good, and this gives us way more value than a lot of Emery stuff can do. Obviously, Emery can then rebuy you whatever in the sort of the grindy games, but we're not here for a grindy game. We're here for a smashy game. All right, I hope you like this one. We explored a new card, and it was pretty darn good. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.